everyone, welcome back to my shop. My name is Steve, otherwise known as That Pen Bloke. So this is the second video in my YouTube series on Introduction to Pen Turning. The first one, if you want to go back, I went through all the equipment that you'll need to get started and some of the tips, tricks, that sort of stuff that, you know, ways you can cut down on the cost without getting over expensive. And then if this is somewhere you want to go later on, you can build up to it. This video we're going to cover off on the actual pen kits, you know, where to start, what's in a pen kit, that sort of stuff, what they can look like, all of that. So each of the kits, doesn't matter where you buy them from, there's heaps of really good reputable suppliers now for pen kits. As I said in the early video when I first started, it was really hard to find. There's a few more that have come on the market now, and even some of your wood turning supply places are now stocking a lot more in the way of the kits that they weren't stocking before, which is absolutely fantastic. So first thing, you know, you'll buy a kit, it'll come in one of these little Ziploc bags like this, and it'll come with everything in it except for your body or the material that you're going to put on the outside. So, you know, and they'll range in cost from anywhere from like $2 to $3 up to $80, $90, even up to $100 for a really top line kit that's actually proper gold, has diamonds in it, that sort of stuff. So I've never been able to bring myself to buy a $100 kit to turn it. I don't see the value in it, but again, that's me. So the other thing is, it's not just pens that come in these kits. You know, you go through, you've got all sorts of things like these stitch unpicks. These are great things to do as gifts. You know, you've got a couple of different types of razors now that you can also get. So, you know, there's plenty out there that you can do, and not just pens. You know, it's the market and everything that's out there now is getting so much bigger, so much better for everything you do. So I guess one of the things we need to look at is where to start. This is probably the number one thing that most people, when they first get into or first start looking at pen turning, where do you start? What kits do you start with? Where do you go? That sort of stuff. So most people, majority of people, start with this one here. Now this one here is a Slimline kit. It's very basic. Two parts to the body, a center band, twists to get the ink in and out, and that sort of thing. So, you know, this one I've done with timber with colour in it. So that's the usual place most people start. Now, you know, it's not where I would recommend to start, but we'll come to that shortly. So this one here is very similar. Again, it's very similar to the Slimline. This one's called a Streamline. Now, the reason it's called Streamline is a little bit thicker through here, so it runs almost a straight line. I'll grab my trusty pencil pointer. From the end, it gets thicker in the middle, and then back thin towards the nib. Let's see if I can hold that better. So you can see right here in the center. So the idea is we start a little bit thin here, end up thin here, but thicker in the center. That way then you've got a nice, through here, you've got nice straight lines. It's nice and easy to grip. So for those people that are a little bit older and are struggling to hold pens these days, these are a great pen because they are that little bit thicker in the middle, and they just have a really nice line. Also, the difference between these and a Slimline is the center band here is just that little bit wider. From there, this one here is a click pen. As you can see, it looks very similar to the Slimline and the Streamline. Small center band, your nib down here. The difference being you've got the clicky part up the top for the mechanism. You know, they're not a bad pen. This kit here that I use is not too bad. I have found that occasionally some of the ink refills won't work in them, so you've got to get decent refills for it. From there, probably the next one that most people go to is this one here. This one's called a Sierra. So this one's in the copper tones or rose gold, however you want to look at it. The good thing with these kits, and why a lot of people recommend these to start with, is it's one tube. Like this part here in the middle, the body here, this is the only part you're turning. And we'll cover off on that a little bit further, but you know, it comes in a few less pieces in the kit. I'll explain why I don't think they're a good place to start shortly. This one here is called an Elegant Beauty. Now, this is very much the same as the Sierra kit. Alright, so we have a look at the Sierra. There's not a lot of difference. It's the same tube. Everything on the internals is exactly the same. It's just the outside styling that's a little bit different. You know, you've got a slightly better finish. You've got this flat top across there. It just gives you that a little bit more elegant looking pen. Alright, then we start getting into some of the capped ones. Alright, so this is what's called a Junior Gent, this one. It's probably a little bit on the higher end of pen. This one here, it's capped, so the cap unscrews. This is a rollerball kit. They have a gel ink inside. They're really nice to write with. They're comfortable, that sort of stuff. Now, these come in two styles. They're either rollerball or they're a fountain pen. The good thing with these is you've got your cap, you've got your body. Your cap can do what's called post on the end, so anybody that's writing a lot with them, they're not going to have the cap roll away, and it goes back on. These come in a couple of colours, chrome, gold or black. This one here is the same style pen, Junior Gent. It's in a gold, and if we undo this one here is a fountain pen. So that's the difference. Fountain pens are quite popular today. So again, great kit to progress to, not a great kit to start with because there's a lot of components in there. It's very easy to get caught up, and it can be a little bit more expensive. So you're looking at about $9 or $10 there for a kit for them. Then we start getting into more of your theme pens. Now, this one here is a bullet pen, rifle pen, whatever you want to call it. These are very, very popular, these pens. They sell quite well at markets, especially for the teenagers, that sort of stuff, depending on where you are. Again, it's got the bullet style shape down there. They have a rifle or the pocket clip is in the shape of either a rifle or one of those. You've got your mechanism here, which is a slide, like a locking mechanism, just slides in and releases. Again, single tube, really good at markets, that sort of stuff. Then you start getting into things like this one here is a golf pen. You know, again, great for gifts, for the golfing enthusiasts, that sort of stuff. They are not the easiest pen to write with though. Things like this, you know, they have a lot of intricate detail down the bottom here, just in around here. So when you're writing with it, that sort of stuff can get quite, it can get a bit hard on the fingers after a while. So they're great as a pen, not great, or great as a gift, not great to write with all the time. The theme pens come in a multiple variety of different styles. You know, there's fireman pens, there's musical pens, there's all sorts. You know, you could, as I said, there's thousands of pens. Now, it's not just pens that you can get in a kit as well. This here, this is a stitch unpick. Now, these are, again, these are a highly sought after item. They will sell really well at markets. They come with a removable stitch unpick. They also have another component with an awl. The reason these sell well is they're a little bit longer. They're very, very sharp in the tip. They're a lot better quality than the cheap stitch unpicks that most people buy or get with their sewing machine. For the sewer, these are awesome and they sell well. Alright, so probably the next thing we need to go through is the kit itself. So the kits come in a plastic bag like this, nice Ziploc bag. All of the components are in there. Everything you need except for the body is in that kit. So what I've done is I've just laid a Slimline kit out on the bench here, just so that you can see. Now, this is your Slimline pen here complete. So we'll put that there. Alright, just so that you can see. Alright, so this is all of the components that come in the kit. So starting off, this is your nib. Alright, this is the end part right there. You've got your mechanism or your transmission. So this is the part that twists inside your pen to make the ink move up and down. You've got your center band here. Now the center bands will vary depending on the kit. You know, this one's quite a small center band. There's a few others a little bit different. You've got your pocket clip here. So that's it there. Then you've got the top of the pen here. Now these all come to, you know, we'll put that together. And that'll end up like that. That's how you'll press it together. Each Slimline comes with 2 brass tubes. Alright, so that's what goes inside the body to help hold everything together. Then all of these components, like the nib and the end and the transmission, will all press into the kit. So your nib, that'll press press into the brass tubes. So your nib will press into there. Your transmission will also press into that same brass tube. Your center band will then go over that and fit on there. And your pocket clip and the end cap will press into that end of the brass tube. Once you've pressed these parts together, the transmission, the nib, that sort of stuff, that's when we take our ink refill. Now these are a cross style refill. They're fairly slim, lightweight. They have a thread up here. Now that thread, the ink will go into the transmission. So the ink will go into the transmission like so, and then you'll screw it in, and that's what holds it in place inside the pen. Alright, and then as you work the transmission, the ink moves up and down. So that's how we get all of our pens to work. So again, that's a Slimline pen. As you can see, you know, this one here is one that I did. Now this one I made out of tongue depressors, painted one side, so or painted the alternate sides, so that's how I got the lines on it, glued them all together, put my finish over the top. So that's a Slimline. Now a Streamline pen, which is this one here, when you look at the two from there, there's not a great deal of difference. As I said, the internals in a Streamline are exactly the same as this. There is no difference. The internals, there's no difference. The only difference on a Streamline to the Slimline is this center band here. That center band is thicker than the center band in the Slimline. That's the only difference. So that will change the whole look on the outside of the pen. You have to be mindful of that, because when you buy your pens and you buy your bushings, that sort of stuff, you want to make sure that the bushings you get are for the right pen. Because otherwise, if you try to turn a Streamline pen down using Slimline bushings, you won't have the right dimensions here. And that's kind of important. So what I'll do now is we'll remove this one and we'll grab another kit and we'll go through that. So what I've done now is I've just pulled out a Sierra kit. Now this one's a gold one, so again, you know, this here is a Sierra kit, or Sierra pen that I did up a little while ago. So starting from, you've got your nib and the main body, you've got your spring, you've got the transmission, and then you've got the end cap with pocket clip all in one piece. Then you've got a single brass tube. And then we have what's commonly known as a Parker style ink refill. So the reason a lot of people say to start with these sorts of pens, a Sierra, is because you've only got one single tube to do. And the single tube being a little bit bigger, as you can see, it's a lot better diameter than what these Slimlines are. And that's fine, I totally agree. These are a great way to start. And I'll get to that part in a minute. So to do these pens, they're really easy. So once you've got your body, your ink is going to take your spring on the end. We're going to put our spring into part of the body. we're going to take our transmission, we're going to put all that together. Turn that back down. That screws into there. There's half of your pen already made, and you didn't have to press anything together. You didn't have to turn anything. That's it. It's already, your whole mechanism's there. Turns, the ink comes out and goes back in. Everything's there. So the only part then you need to do is you need to make your body, which will actually just slide over the top and sit on there like so. Right. And once you've made your body, you then just have to press the top of the pen into the brass tube. Alright, so we're not going to push that in because I don't want to ruin the brass tube. Now, this is where I have the issue with doing a Sierra for a beginner that hasn't done too many other pens. When you're pressing your Sierra together, or pressing this component here, so this part here that presses into here, when you're pressing this together, you have to have this up against something solid. Now, noting this has quite a round end on it, like it has that sphere on it. To get that to sit straight in your pen press or whatever it is you're pressing it on, as you're pressing it into here, you have to be extremely careful because it will bend, it will move, and if you get it slightly off center when you're trying to press it together, you'll end up cracking whatever your body is, because there's not a lot of material between the brass tube and the outside of the body, so they will crack really easily. So my suggestion is, instead of going to a Sierra to start with, you come back and you go to an Elegant Beauty. Alright, so the Elegant Beauty is exactly the same on the inside. We'll just pull this apart. As you can see, I've just stripped that one down that I made earlier. These two parts here are exactly the same. Other than the finish on the outside, there is no difference between the nib part and the mechanism or the transmission through here. They are exactly the same. So that part, it makes them really easy. Where it becomes different, we'll grab the one here that I've got made. Probably should put this back together. As you can see, the Elegant Beauty, keep that in. Elegant Beauty has a nice flat end on it, as opposed to the round end on the Sierra. To me, for pressing and ease of learning, this is a much better pen to learn with when you first put them together, and I think they tend to look just that little bit nicer. Alright, so the finish on them is a little better. This is a satin finish one, looks quite nice. Again, nothing wrong with the Sierra. I like the Sierra kit. It's probably one of my favourite kits to do because it is quick, it's simple, they look great, they've got a nice weight to them, all that sort of stuff. It just takes a bit of work and a bit of knack to get to know how to press this part together. But again, as I said, great pens. I would just learn this one first. If you haven't done them before, learn the Elegant Beauty and then come to the Sierra once you've got the hang of this part and pressing it together. Alright, put them away and I'll grab something else out. Okay, so what I've done this time, I've grabbed a Junior Gent and exploded it out as the kit comes. This one here is a chrome in a fountain pen. As you can see, looking at this one, because it's a capped pen, there's so many more components in it that you need to do. So again, don't do this, don't look at doing one of these until you've got a little bit more experience up, having done, say, a few more Slimline, Sierras, that sort of stuff. Then start looking at these capped pens. They take a lot more work, a lot more practice. Not so much in the turning is no different. It's the putting it all together, all the different components, and if you don't get them together in the right order, then you can cause other issues. You also get the fact that, so this one here, so this is a Junior Gent, it's gold, that's the only difference. Now, the biggest trick with these is if you've got a pen like this one that has a definite part that needs to line up, that's the part that takes practice. So if you're doing one that's got wood grain in it, and you want to line up the wood grain, sort of a bit like this one, you need to take your time and line them up properly. Make sure you get your threads sort of set out. Alright, I'm going to cover them off on a later video. I'll actually make one of these in a video somewhere down the track, and we'll go through lining everything up so it makes sense. But for now, we'll go off on the components. So starting with the actual body, and I'll open this one up and we'll turn it around so it looks the same way. Alright, so starting with the body, again, as I said, you've got your brass tube, you've got your nib, which on this one is a fountain pen, this one's a steel or chrome finish fountain pen. This will press into here. Now, the trick with these two is all of these components also come apart. So, and that is where it starts to get even trickier if you're not aware, because you need to pull these apart to be able to press this piece into here, because you're not going to want to press on that fountain pen nib because they damage very, very easily. You also want to make sure that you don't drop that, because the minute you drop that nib, you might as well say goodbye to it. Again, these nibs, they're not that expensive, they're not really worth trying to get them repaired. It's probably easier to replace them with a better quality nib. Not saying that they're a bad nib, they're reasonably cheap when you consider the whole kit is about $10 anyway. Alright, so as I said, you need to pull that apart to go in there. This little chrome ring here, that comes off as well. So it's there's a lot of work involved. You also, when you press it together, you need to take this chrome piece off again to press that in. So you can see how it starts to become a lot more complicated as we're going through. So that's the body, we've got that in. Now we've got, this is the cap, so that's the shredded part of the cap. This is the part we need to line this part up with this part when we're putting it all together. The cap, as I said before, this has a shorter but larger brass tube, as opposed to the body has a longer but thinner brass tube. So the diameters are different, length is different. You've got your pocket clip and then the end piece. Alright, so now, and each of these Junior Gents, each of these pens will come with a disposable ink cartridge as well. Now, I tend to leave these with the pen. That'll get the pen inked up to start with, run some ink through it. I always throw in, most of my pens, I throw in a converter, which I haven't got on me at the moment. What that does is a reusable converter so that you can reuse the ink or reuse it all the time. But you can just buy these disposable cartridges, again from anywhere, Officeworks, that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of components in these kits. Again, don't try and jump on these too early. Take a bit of time, get used to doing some of the other pens first, then come back to this. Now, the Junior Gent comes in two styles. It comes in a fountain pen and a rollerball, as I said. The only difference between the two is in the nib. This one comes with a fountain pen in here, insert in here. This one comes with the rollerball, a rollerball gel ink, which you can take. Again, it's refillable. This is your rollerball gel refill, as you can see. That just comes out of there. There's a spring in the get that on the camera. There's a spring down in this part here, so that stops you from pressing too hard on these and damaging the nib, because they are a little bit fragile. And again, just screws back together, and that's it. Again, as I said, not a lot of difference between the rollerball and the fountain pen. I've had customers that have come in, they loved what I've done with a fountain pen but didn't want the fountain pen, wanted it in rollerball. At the markets, I usually have an extra couple of kits. I swap them out. It's really easy. All you're doing, is you take the spring out of that end, swap these ends over, and that's it. It's all interchangeable. Makes it nice and easy. All right. So that's a fountain pen. Though that's a Junior Gent capped pen. Okay, so one of the last things that I wanted to cover off on. These are not pens, but they're along the same line, and they can be great fun turning, making gifts for people, that sort of stuff. Even I sell a lot of these sorts of things at the markets that I go to. It's just something a little bit different to making pens all the time. So this one here, as I said, this is a stitch unpick. This comes, where it's one tube, you're turning the body. It comes with a pocket clip, or you can leave the pocket clip off, and it comes with both the stitch unpick and the awl type thing, which is the really spiky piece. They're interchangeable, so they just come off like so. Change them over. When the sewer or whoever's using it isn't using them, you turn them around, put it in the other side, it's packed away, it's protected, that sort of stuff. Again, great gifts. People love them. I sell quite a few of them at different markets. I have done in the past. Again, you can make the body out of whatever you want, timber, resin, all sorts. The other thing, and I haven't got any here made at the moment, but this will give you an idea too. It's close to the same kit. So this is a razor. These are probably my more popular razors. You can get the ones that take the mark, disposable heads, but I like these ones a little bit better. They're just that little bit nicer, look a little bit better, especially as a gift, and not everyone wants to be kept to one brand of razor head, that sort of stuff. Whereas these ones, the top comes off, you put your standard old school Wilkinson sword blade in there, close it up, the old safety razor, and that's it. The only part you need to do, again, this is your brass tube, this is your body, that's the part you're going to turn. These components, it's nice and quick, nice and easy. We're going to press them in together, like so, and that's going to be your whole razor. Now they do come in a toothbrush as well. I have never done one, but apparently they do. And then once you finish, once it's together, that just screws on and holds everything in place. Alright, so nice and simple. They come in a couple of different ones too, gold or chrome. I have seen them in black. I haven't done any in black myself. You can get that. You can also buy the razor stands as a kit. You can buy the bristle brushes as well, all that sort of stuff. So, once you start looking, you don't have to be confined just to doing pens. You can go a little bit outside. You can even buy kits now to do rings. So, that's all out there. Alright, so we're getting towards the end. So we've covered all the kits, and as I said at the start, there's probably thousands of different kits that you can go through. Everyone's slightly different, different finishes, all that sort of stuff, But at the end of the day, they're your basic ones that you're going to start with. They're the ones, that are readily available here in Australia. Again, at the end of the video, or in the comment part down below, I'll list all of the places that I know of where you can buy all the componentry of the different kits. These people are wonderful. They will certainly help you out no end, that sort of stuff. I guess the next thing you need to look at is, what are we going to put in it? So what I've done is I've just laid out a quick selection of some of the stuff that I use. Now, most people will start with some timber. Look, it doesn't really matter. My suggestion though is don't go for a hard timber straight up. Now, what I've got here, this is a piece of Jarrah floorboard. You know, it's from a basketball court. I've done a few pens out of this. Jarrah is one of those really tough timbers, so don't start with it, come back to it later. It looks fantastic on a pen, but it is really tough, really hard to turn. It's hard to believe this is Jarrah, but anyway. So, you know, this piece here, this is a bit of red gum. Now, it's looking a bit gnarly and a bit twisted, but that doesn't matter for our purposes. You know, your piece of timber doesn't have to be absolutely spot on perfect. As long as it's reasonably straight and you can drill a straight line down the center of it, that's all you're going to need to make a pen out of. So I tell everybody, I make the pens out of the stuff that most people will put in their fire pit and burn or throw away. So, you know, red gum to me is probably one of the easiest, or not easiest, but it's the best sort of timber to start with. It's hard enough that it's going to take a bit of work on the lathe, but it's not soft enough that you're going to get really chunky on it, that sort of stuff. The other one here, I've got a bit of tea tree. So again, it's like this was a larger piece of board that I've cut up. It's a perfect size. It's about 20 mil thick. I can cut that down because I've got the different saws. You know, I've got my band saw here. I've got a circular saw. I've got a table saw. Or a Makita like portable table saw, so I can trim all these down. If you don't have that sort of stuff, most of these pen suppliers now have timber already cut that you can buy off them, ready to go, ready to process. So that's timbers. Other than this is an exotic. This is Purple Heart, comes out of the US. It's an awesome timber. Again, it's a little bit tough, it's hard to turn, so again, wait out on that, but it does look really good. And the trick with this stuff too, this Purple Heart, it looks reasonably purple like this. You apply some heat to it, it goes a dark purple. Hopefully one of the videos, I'll turn it and we'll do an experiment and I'll show you. The next thing a lot of people go to is probably these here. These are an acrylic blank. They're like a plastic. They're really easy to turn. They cost about between $3 to $6 each, depending on where you buy them from. They come in multiples of colors. You know, these are just two, that sort of stuff. They're great to learn with, but they can be quite hard. They smell terrible when you're cutting them. Essentially, you're cutting plastic. That's what they are. The other thing with a lot of these is they're a lot light through the center. So one of the things that you're going to have to look at doing is painting your brass tubes, unless you want to see that gold through it. You know, so you're going to need to paint them black and learn that. That'll be another video, we'll go through that. The rest of these are the rest down here, these are blanks that are a resin based blank. So this one here is straight resin. This is one that I make, that I've made up, coloured just gold and blue. That's what the client wanted, so I made a few extra. That's straight epoxy resin. Really easy to turn, or reasonably easy to turn, not too expensive. Again, up to around the $10 per blank, depending on where you're buying it from, that sort of stuff. Again, this is another one that I did. This is a hybrid. It's all timber through here with resin through here. Now, depending on the timber you're doing, it can be quite hard, that sort of stuff. This is some sort of burl. I can't remember exactly what it was. As I said, I get given a lot of offcuts, a lot of timbers that people don't use. So these make really good pens. You know, this is one that I did, as I said, this one here. This is a hybrid, so resin and timber through there. This is one that comes out of the States. It's called Diamond Cast. These are brilliant. These are made from a product called Slimline, which is a polyurethane resin. It's really, really good, nice and easy to turn, soft. This is infused with diamonds, so these blanks are a lot more on your pricier end, anywhere up to about $15, probably more. So you really don't want to be wasting this stuff if you're going to use it. This elegant beauty here, I've thrown that together with Diamond Cast. In the right light, you can see they're filled with diamonds, that sort of stuff. Down the end, these are some of my fun blanks that I threw together. You've probably seen some of these. This one here, I've infused this one with coffee beans. Now these are real coffee beans. They're not an imitation coffee bean or anything like that. I have actually mixed that with epoxy resin and cast it. They're quite popular. I sell a lot of pens with coffee beans in them. This one here, a bit of an experiment. This has got curly pasta in it, so I threw that in. That comes up really weird, it's not bad. And this is probably my favourite, and one that I get asked a lot for. This is actually Lego that I've cast in there. Again, to get to this sort of level, you need to have practiced a fair bit. This takes some additional work, and if you're not wary of it, it can be a bit tricky. As I said, start with your timbers. The best place to start. Start with a medium hardness timber and work your way through. Grab some acrylics. Again, not my favourite. I don't do them very much anymore. I have a couple left over. I may do something with them. I may give them away. We'll see what happens. But my suggestion was, if you can find, once you've moved on from timber, have a look around for some epoxy blanks. A few of the pen suppliers sell epoxy blanks, and they're really easy to turn, really forgiving, that sort of stuff. That would be my suggestion. Alright, as I said, leave your comments down below. Don't forget, if you're new to pen turning, subscribe to my channel and that sort of stuff. I'm going to try and get more videos out. I'm new to all this. Hopefully, maybe the next one I do will actually make a pen and I'll video and we'll go through the whole process, that sort of stuff. Again, if you've got questions, hit me up in the comments. I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. From me, thanks for coming by. That's me. Enjoy making pens.